There's a crucial molecule in your body that helps control everything. Your circulation, your energy, your stamina, your heart, even your sharpness of mind. It's called nitric oxide. But after age 40, your body makes less and less of it. Less blood flow, less stamina, less of you. But now there's N101, the nitric oxide lozenge developed by Dr. Nathan Bryan, the world's leading nitric oxide researcher backed by Nobel Prize-winning science. N101 is designed to naturally restore your body's nitric oxide levels. Just do what I do and let one dissolve in your mouth twice a day. I especially make sure to take it before workouts. N101 goes to work in minutes, releasing nitric oxide directly into your bloodstream, supporting healthy circulation, boosting oxygen delivery to your muscles and brain, helping you feel the way you're supposed to feel. More energy, better blood flow, sharper focus. Day after day. N101, it's the science of you working better. Visit HoffmanNO.com. That's HoffmanNO.com and use coupon code Hoffman10 for 10% off N101. Welcome to today's Intelligent Medicine Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Ronald Hoffman. It's our weekly Q&A with Leyla, which is a podcast wherein we answer your questions, respond to your comments. Destination for questions or comments is questions@drhoffman.net, and I'm pleased to say that we have kind of a relatively full email inbox today. So we've got some great questions to tee off discussion. So how are you doing, Leyla?
Okay, Dr. Hoffman, how are you?
Very well, thank you. And enjoying the summer weather and enjoying the FIFA soccer. You know, I have to say that I'm...
Are you following it?
Yeah, it took me a while to get into it, but I have to say that, you know, a well-played soccer game is kind of fun. It's just not as exciting as, I don't know, it's not exciting as basketball. You know, there's a lot of scoring.
Sure.
And I don't know, you know, it's like
it's an awfully big field.
Watching a bunch of guys kicking a ball around, you know, it's nice. I admire their acumen and, you know, the passing and all that stuff. And, you know, they're heading the ball. And then I can't fathom the strategy, and I still don't understand when they're calling offside, you know, it's like stuff like that. But I like the pageantry is fun. And, you know, I was in Midtown Manhattan on Sunday, where they had the Norwegians, and the Norwegians they wear the red jerseys and they do the Viking row thing. And man, what a spirited group of people. Wow. And then you see other people of different nationalities with different colored jerseys on. And I think it's great. They're super excited about their countries. And they're not, you know, beating each other over the head, you know, rioting usually. And
when it comes to sportsmanship, nationalism is a good thing. Yes.
Yeah. I think it is a good thing. So anyway, kind of enjoying the soccer that you know, you can watch hours and hours and hours of soccer on TV.
That's true.
It gets a little old after a while. But anyway, so and kind of encouraging because there's this guy Messi. Have you heard?
Yes,
Messi?
Lionel Messi,
who is an Argentine dude who is 38 years old. And, you know, it's kind of a vindication for us old guys, you know, a few years older than he is, but he's still got it. And, you know, he's scoring goals left and right. So, you know, that's encouraging.
Yeah.
You know, it just takes a lot to just run around. These guys are running the whole time, running
all the time.
And they're very good.
Gotta fuel up.
They're very good actors too, because they, you know, it's like they get a little touch and then they, you know, they end up, you know, on the ground in agony, clutching their knee or their shin, or, you know, it's like, and there's a lot of play acting. So, yeah. Before we get to questions, a couple of things. This week we'll drop, I think, what I consider kind of a definitive takedown of the article on glucosamine. So if you're curious about that, it was actually funny because I take a German class, and we had a discussion in the German class like, oh, you know, the teacher said, you know, you do a blog. What was your blog about this week? And I tried to explain in German, in my rudimentary German, that I wrote about something called glucosamine. And so, you know, in my broken German. And then somebody in the class said, oh my goodness, she emailed me separately and said, I take glucosamine, and I wonder what you have to say about glucosamine. So I sent her the draft.
Was ist das?
Yeah, was ist das? Glucosamine, was ist das? Yeah. Glucosamine.
Yes, like that.
And so anyway, it's kind of funny. So so checked out that article. I think it's will help to assuage some of your concerns about glucosamine. I'm personally not concerned, but if you have outright Alzheimer's disease, maybe I can't imagine that a lot of people who have Alzheimer's, with all the things that they have to take and their inability to take things, because it's very hard to take. People have swallowing problems, and they certainly have compliance problems. They need a caregiver to spoon feed them the supplements that they need to take.
Yeah,
I can't imagine that a lot of Alzheimer's patients are taking glucosamine. So I think it's kind of a non-problem. It's a solution in search of a problem, or a non-solution. This week, actually, just before we got on the air to do this, because we do this via Zoom each week, I'm writing about this wonderful book that I came across. And I'm the kind of person who gets I have I run out of, I try to keep a queue of books that I want to read. And then when I run out of the queue, it's oh my God, what am I going to read? Because reading is so important to me.
Absolutely.
I found this book called Lost Worlds: How Humans Tried, Failed, Succeeded, and Built Our World, A History of Civilization Through Trial and Error. Ice Age to Bronze Age. Wow, that covers a lot of ground. So,
wow.
I'm an anthropology major, so it was of interest to me. I studied this in college, and I think it also gave me a lot of perspective in terms of my medical career, because, we want to look at, what did original humans eat? What were their lives like? What were they exposed to? We talk about the paleo diet and the paleo lifestyle, which we were really designed for. We were designed to withstand the rigors of life in that time. And the diet that we subsisted on, although there were very varied diets, because humans evolved all over the world, from equatorial regions to Arctic regions, and they adapted. So humans have the capability to eat all kinds of diets. So it's not one paleo diet. Right. And there's interesting insights in this book. And, I have to say, it gave me some perspective, and I think people should consider this, is that we evolved over hundreds of thousands of years. And then there was this thing where we went from the Paleolithic, which is really like the Stone Age, hunter-gatherers, with
ancestral,
like the BC comics, with clubs, or, like the Flintstones, that kind of thing, to the point where we were Neolithic. And the Neolithic began experiments in domestication. They began to raise plants, and they began to experiment with domesticating animals. They took wild animals, and they initially hunted them, but then they kind of kept them in pastures, and they bred them to be more docile.
The agricultural revolution.
So-called, yes.
Right.
And that was the Neolithic time. But that time lasted for really, really long time. That predated Egypt by thousands of years. So, what we tend to think of as very ancient wasn't that ancient. No. And this book is about actually the antecedents to what we call the Bronze Age or the Copper Age. That would be Egypt, Mesopotamia, some of the civilizations in China, in Mesoamerica. We have the Tolmec and the Aztec and the Inca and all this stuff. But prior to that, there was a lot going on. And the interesting part of that is that some of these civilizations, they just imploded. They imploded. And what happened, there was climate change, but there was also societal pressures. There was disease. And I think it's kind of humbling to think about that, because we're about to celebrate our 250th anniversary. Hooray, we made it for 250 years. There are plenty of cultures that completely went out of business that lasted for 1,000 years or 2,000 years or 2,500 years, pretty much continuously in the same site, in the same site. And even more so than ancient Rome. We have a lot of historical evidence about ancient Rome, but there are places in China and in the Near East and in Europe where people have continuously lived for thousands of years. Like, we tend to think of Stonehenge as like a one-off, but people lived there for centuries.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
It's like, like the United States of Stonehenge was like lasted longer than the United States of America.
Yeah.
And it was a stable culture until it wasn't, until something happened. And, so we should, and we have so many challenges facing us, like political challenges and climate challenges and resource challenges and the deterioration of our moral and spiritual fiber and
social challenges
and social media and the challenge of AI, and is that going to make us really stupid? And
are we all chipped?
And new diseases that we're creating. These are what are called iatrogenic diseases that are caused, that are medically driven diseases.
By intervention.
By intervention. We've surmounted, the diseases that challenged our ancestors, but we've created a whole new set of diseases.
Yeah.
We're weakening the human species, and so.
What great questions.
So it just makes me think, and I want to prompt our audience to think about it, because you should take it for granted that human history is this unadulterated progress, like the Dark Ages, like for centuries, the Romans, did a pretty good job, with all kinds of innovations, technology, architecture, governance, and then it all fell apart. And it didn't just fall apart for, a generation. It fell apart for centuries.
Yeah.
And then people would go by these Roman ruins and they go, wow, these people were amazing. We can't figure out how they did it, because we don't have the technology. It's like lost technology during the Dark Ages,
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
Whole things to ponder and look into, and great to be so curious.
Yeah. Well, it's not exactly a bright or optimistic picture, because it's humbling to think that. But whatever generation we live in, we tend to think of ourselves as the apex of progress and civilization. But we're just a brief wink of an eye in terms of hundreds and thousands of generations of humans.
Exactly.
Each of which thought like, hey, I'm here, and, this is pretty cool. Like, hey, I made this, arrowhead out of flint, and like, this is pretty amazing. And,
Right. And we are such a young nation, 250 years. And hey, let's keep it a republic if you can keep it, as Benjamin Franklin said, right? But just think of these hundreds, thousands of years. It could all be very fleeting, but just looking at it, being curious about it, I think is wonderful, because then it has you wanting to come up with solutions to avoid our demise. Whether as human beings or as a nation or as a group of nations. So I think we need to be proactive about thinking about some of these challenges. Anyway, there's a little bit of philosophical speculation. I think it's a big, that's a big leap from the glucosamine article, which kind of like news people can use, like, oh, should I take glucosamine? Should I take, it's like, this is more like, I don't know, a thought piece, which, time to time I indulge myself with, and I hope our listeners and readers enjoy it. Okay. Enough of that. Before we get to questions, we would like to let one of our sponsors have an opportunity to strut their stuff for you, and we heartily endorse their message, because the very self-same supplements that we advertise here on Intelligent Medicine, we both recommend and take. And so here we go. Listen up. There's a crucial molecule in your body that helps control everything: your circulation, your energy, your stamina, your heart, even your sharpness of mind. It's called nitric oxide. But after age 40, your body makes less and less of it. Less blood flow, less stamina, less of you. But now there's N101, the nitric oxide lozenge developed by Dr. Nathan Bryan, the world's leading nitric oxide researcher backed by Nobel Prize-winning science. N101 is designed to naturally restore your body's nitric oxide levels. Just do what I do and let one dissolve in your mouth
twice a day. I especially make sure to take it before workouts. N101 goes to work in minutes, releasing nitric oxide directly into your bloodstream, supporting healthy circulation, boosting oxygen delivery to your muscles and brain, helping you feel the way you're supposed to feel. More energy, better blood flow, sharper focus. Day after day. N101, it's the science of you working better. Visit HoffmanNO.com. That's HoffmanNO.com and use coupon code Hoffman10 for 10% off N101.
Kids don't just bring home homework, they bring home germs. And those germs don't just stay with them, they spread to the whole household. That's why Clear Nasal Spray was created by a practicing physician to give parents and grandparents peace of mind. You may not think about it, but your nose is filtering out a semi-truck full of air every single day. Clear isn't just another spray. It creates an additional layer of protection in your nose that blocks bacteria and viruses before they can even take hold. Yes, even that virus. Supporting your body's defenses right where germs first try to enter. Clear is a hygiene product recommended for daily use, drug-free, non-drowsy, and safe for all ages. Just a quick spray in the morning and evening helps you cleanse your nose. Don't just hope for protection, create it. Get Clear Nasal Spray, your daily defense. Clear Nasal Spray is available at retailers nationwide and online. Check out Xlear.com for our special offers. That's Xlear.com.
Thanks for listening, and we appreciate you supporting our sponsors because while intelligent medicine is free, one of the ways you can support this program is through your patronage of our sponsors, who hence that fortifies their faith in intelligent medicine as a communication strategy for them, and that enables us to defray the costs of production of intelligent medicine. Keep it as a free resource to you. Hooray.
Yes. All right. On to questions. We've got one here from Bob. Bob is writing us. He says, unfortunately, my prostate cancer's returned, and now I've been in ADT therapy. Which is
androgen deprivation therapy, which is they use blockers to block testosterone, which is kind of it is not a curative treatment usually for prostate cancer, but it is a very successful delaying action, which can put like a real roadblock for many years to slow the progression of the cancer. However, it comes with some hazards because it slows men down. You know, when you deprive men of testosterone, they get low T. And when you're low T, you may have decreased motivation. You may have a tendency less to exercise. And you may have a tendency to accumulate more body fat, and your blood sugar may deteriorate. So they actually have some controversy about whether ADT certainly helps prostate cancer, but all in all, does it forestall death? Because, you know, it might cure your prostate cancer, slow your prostate cancer, but you might succumb to something else sooner. So it's a little bit of a controversial therapy, but hey, you know, necessary under these circumstances. So go ahead.
Well, Bob is taking a whole list of supplements, and he's about to start radiation treatment. And he's wondering, you know, which supplements are compatible with radiation therapy.
Yeah, you know, I would suggest that perhaps he could work with you, you know, directly and, you know, formulate a supplement plan. You know, here's when you take radiation, I think one of the considerations is that radiation works by generating free radicals. Yeah. And so we have a category of supplements called antioxidants, which quench free radicals. And in this case, we may not want to quench the free radicals because we may vitiate the benefits of the radiation
treatment.
Getting away with them. Okay.
Yes.
So we would not want to take, for example, high dose vitamin E. You know, that might actually protect you from radiation. Great. Okay. But protecting you from radiation might protect cancer cells from radiation. Anything
you want the oxidative stress because it's there to do a job.
You want
oxidative stress from
now,
radiation.
It is a plausible theory that you may want to, at the time of radiation, you know, for, you know, a few days before and a few days after, avoid the antioxidants, but then as a rescue therapy to protect the rest of your body, you may want to jump in and use some antioxidants afterwards, after the radiation has done its work to help with repair. So that, I think, you don't want to necessarily never take an antioxidant. You may want to, especially if there's radiation that's administered like, you know, once a week or something, maybe there's some days, off days, where you could actually get some rescue from some antioxidants, but not too close to the radiation. Okay, so that being said, there are other supplements where, I don't know, it's maybe kind of neutral. It doesn't really matter. I would think of, things like sulforaphane and curcumin and, these things that have sort of anti-cancer effects, right? And, they probably...
Maybe lycopene, maybe vitamin C.
Yeah, exactly, at lycopene. But then I think there's definitely some things that would be good. So things that improve immune function, okay?
Yeah.
And so, some sort of...
Maybe things like iodine.
Well, iodine too, yeah.
Probiotic.
Yeah.
Maybe melatonin.
Melatonin, yes. I think melatonin could be... Here's the thing. Melatonin has a little bit of an antioxidant effect, in my opinion.
Yes.
So maybe that's something to withhold for a while during the radiation treatment and then come back and use it. I think melatonin at high dose is very effective for certain hormonal cancers, particularly breast cancer and prostate cancer, I'm thinking. And but maybe not, it's a bit of an antioxidant. So
Dr. Hoffman, what do you think in particular?
Vitamin D, for sure.
Vitamin
always.
D,
yeah.
Absolutely. What about B complex vitamins?
Okay. Here's where I got a little bit of a issue because most of the B complex vitamins are great, but they're growth factors. Okay. And rapidly metabolizing cancer cells might take advantage of B complex vitamins. So I tend to be a little bit restrictive on B vitamins. That's why I'm not a big fan of, cancer patients indiscriminately taking a multi, because it's got a whole panoply of vitamins, some good, some neutral, and some potentially, quote, feeding the cancer. So, I would kind of look at those considerations. I also think that it's not that consequential because really the business end of the treatment is the ADT and the radiation. So that's kind of hard to screw up, frankly.
Right.
So I wouldn't get obsessive about which vitamins you're taking because you're kind of like you're taking very powerful treatments.
Right.
And so the vitamins are less consequential ultimately. But, you certainly don't want to fly in the face of the radiation. It's like, wow, I took the radiation and I did great and, I had no side effects and well, maybe your regular cells were protected, but maybe your cancer cells were also somewhat protected and you didn't get the full efficacy of the treatment.
Such a great point. Yeah. It's a little bit of a double-edged sword there with whole approaches. I know that we know a naturopathic doctor out in Arizona, Dr. Lise Altschuler, who is wonderful at this, having dealt with cancer. I believe that's her specialty. I think she's an oncological naturopathic doctor.
And I'm just looking at my bookshelf there. I actually have her book, if I can just stand up here.
And she's actually an expert at what to take during your cancer treatments, Bob. Lise Altschuler, the definitive guide to cancer. And so,
and you can see I have it bookmarked here because it's a book. It's a book that I frequently rely on.
Yeah. In fact, that might be the place to start. But best of luck to you, Bob, and keep in touch with us. Let us know how you're doing. Okay.
And there are. See, also, if you have cancer, I think it's fine to see a nutritionist, but I actually think that when you have cancer, it's not a bad idea to see someone who specializes in oncologic nutrition.
Absolutely.
Because it's a subspecialty, actually, and people really study that. And there's so many rapid advances with that. And now with the advent of a whole new category of treatments, immunotherapy, the information is coming fast and furious. And we don't know about some of the interactions between these agents and various supplements. There could be synergy and beneficial, or it could be neutral, or it could be interference.
Yeah. Good points. It is a specialty, indeed. All right, Bob. Thank you, and let us know how you're doing.
Yes.
Okay. Oh, I've got a question here from Mary, Mary writes, she's asking about sarcoidosis of the lung. What I wanted to know are what are integrative treatments for this condition? It seems to be pretty rare, but my friend and his wife both have it.
Yeah.
So is the root cause environmental? It's so unusual. Can you direct me as to a treatment for this specific disorder? Or is it a general anti-inflammatory regimen that they would need to follow?
So this is interesting because sarcoidosis is frankly a mystery disease. And it's kind of amazing the degree to which we're making progress against a wide variety of diseases where we don't really quite know what the cause of sarcoidosis is, nor the ideal treatment for sarcoidosis. Sarcoidosis, it is thought, may be an infectious disease, but we haven't found the pathogen that causes it. But this is an unusual coincidence. Coinkydink is a couple both have it. Wow.
Sarcoidosis of the lung. Friend has a cough and nothing that interferes with daily functioning, but now it's almost a continuous cough. He has chills and night sweats and all of that.
Okay. So the one thing that I know for sure about sarcoidosis is kind of an unusual thing is that vitamin D, which is kind of almost a panacea for almost everything, is contraindicated in sarcoidosis.
And that is so fascinating.
You
don't want a high vitamin D level when you have sarcoidosis. Yeah.
There is a Dr. Marshall, who's written something like the Marshall Plan, which is, not the rescue of Europe after World War II, but it's like the Marshall Plan for sarcoidosis, where he recommends vitamin D deprivation, keep it really low, because it seems that vitamin D may feed the sarcoidosis in some way. Okay.
That is fascinating.
It's a granulomatous disease, a little bit like tuberculosis, but they have not found a pathogen that causes it. I have, what I have generally done when I've treated sarcoidosis patients, is I treated them with an overall natural protocol, where we've, given them a very healthy diet and we've, addressed other deficiencies. And often they've stabilized their sarcoidosis and they've gotten better through, healthy lifestyle in a general way. Yeah. But is there some slam dunk natural treatment? I don't know of it. If there's a natural practitioner who is listening to this, who has made some real progress in understanding or treating sarcoidosis, I really would appreciate hearing from you. Yeah. Because I may look it up, but every time I look it up, I just get more questions than answers on sarcoidosis.
Right.
And by the way, it's not that uncommon. It's not that uncommon. Really? And there is actually a racial predominance of sarcoidosis. It's common among African Americans.
Oh my!
But paradoxically, it's also common among Scandinavians. So go figure, which is kind of like the opposite of that. You can't generalize.
Yeah, but it's imperative that people with this condition that they be very careful with their vitamin D supplement. You don't want even a blood level of more than in the 20s, believe it or not. Yeah. Something that we would consider deficient.
Yes.
A deficiency.
Yeah.
But in this case, and this is the only case that I can think of anyway, that vitamin D is not helpful and maybe harmful, which is really something. Yeah. It's such a mystery. Yeah.
Yep. So, it has to do with calcium metabolism, and sarcoidosis drives calcium metabolism such that there's like excess deposition of calcium in the lesions of sarcoidosis. So you don't want to promote uptake of calcium.
It.
Okay.
Right.
So maybe we could circle back and do a reprise on this if. It might take a little digging to find out if there's any new breakthroughs in sarcoidosis, either on the conventional side or on the natural side.
Yeah. Mary, thank you for this very thoughtful question. I just find it incredible that it's friend and his wife. That's really something. Okay.
Yeah.
It reminds me actually of a couple that we know. They both have MS.
Yeah. Wow. Well, see, they're that could be infectious. There's actually some evidence that MS has an infectious basis because it has something to do with maybe Epstein-Barr virus. But most people have been exposed to Epstein-Barr virus. I think that's more likely the scenario is environmental. So if I see a couple who both have Parkinson's disease, like, well, maybe they're living too close to a golf course. They're getting too much in the way
herbicides.
of herbicides or pesticides in their drinking water, or from walking on the grass, that's
may
been
want to
treated.
rethink that retirement community, golfers.
Yeah, I've also seen, this is an interesting one, is that I recall that way back when, this is the President Bush Sr. Had Graves' disease.
HW. Oh,
yeah,
really?
HW. And Barbara Bush, not Barbara Bush, but the other, the mother-in-law, what's her, the H.W. Bush's wife?
Barbara Bush.
Was that Barbara Bush?
Yeah, because W's wife was Laura Bush.
Oh, that's right, Laura. Okay, thank you.
So
So
it's
Barbara
Barbara.
Bush had Graves' disease,
Oh,
and the dog had Graves' disease.
the dog?
Yeah.
The dog.
So when that
They were
kind of
all
thing
eating
happens,
the same kibble? Is
yeah,
that what happened?
is it environmental?
Uh-huh.
Is it a shared diet, or is it an infectious agent, that's
Wow.
transmitted? I mean, it's kind of, or, one could say, hey, they all lived in a high stress environment, right? And stress might
That'll
affect
do
the
it.
thyroid. It's like
Sure.
the Cold War, end of the Cold War, or whatever,
Yeah. Head of the CIA, president,
Yeah.
vice president. Oh, boy. All of that.
Yeah.
So, oh, my goodness.
So,
Wow. And the dog. It's so,
and the dog.
yeah. Yeah, I can't stand that animals are getting human diseases and all of that.
Right.
Something is very, very wrong here. Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, they're good
Mhm.
indicators of, the kind, they're canaries in the coal mine that kind of give us a
Right.
warning sign of like, we're at risk because of the food we eat and the environment that we live in.
Yeah.
That, between the pollutants and the diet is that it's driving a lot of animal disease that looks a lot like human, animal cancers, premature cancers.
It's like when they would look at certain clusters, certain neighborhoods on Long Island.
Yeah.
I don't recall the neighborhoods about where there was more cancer or
Mhm.
more breast cancer or more some other kind of cancer and so forth and so on. They would look
Right.
at these clusters and they look at the toxins in the
Mhm.
area or
Mhm.
the exposures.
Yeah, the Nassau
in that
County
area.
cluster,
Yeah. Yeah.
Massapequa, otherwise known as Matza Pizza.
Matzo pizza.
Matza Pizza. A lot of ethnic eating in that area. Okay.
Yeah.
So what we're going to do is we divide our podcast into two parts. So in part two, give us a little bit of a preview of what we're going to tackle in part two and our next question.
Okay. This actually comes from Katie. I stopped eating tofu years ago because of soy fear.
Soy fear. Okay.
A menopausal 78-year-old, but mother had breast cancer and had a total hysterectomy. Cancer.
Okay. The
Can
mother,
I have soy? And what do you think of
presumably the
BHRT?
mother had that and she's
the
concerned.
cancers.
Okay. All
He's
right, we'll tackle it.
concerned.
Okay.
And about BHRT. So it's a little more, it's a two-sided question, actually.
Right.
So,
All right.
Part.
Good. So when we return, we'll tackle that question and others. Questions come to questions@drhoffman.net. Please note the .net.
Yes,
that's how
please.
you pose questions. The website is drhoffman.com. And there you'll find many resources. You'll find access to our full script dispensary where you can get all kinds of supplements, some of the esoteric ones that we talk about here on Intelligent Medicine. And I was reading an article, Leyla, about the Amazon effect. And Amazon is kind of a free fire zone when it comes to supplements. They just don't have the resources to, it's like whack-a-mole with fraudulent supplements, expired supplements, people who steal from stores and then sell them on the, on the gray market. Because there are actually a lot of organized shoplifting of supplements, and then they might appear
Shoplifting, yes. Dumpster diving.
and they might appear actually and expired, because sometimes they have to confiscate expired supplements. So who knows, it may reappear as a special, unrealistically low price deal on Amazon. So be wary of some of these offers, and shop with reliable sources like Fullscript. Our supplement store utilizes Fullscript, and deerhoffmanstore.com. All right.
Yep.
Good stuff. When we return, more of today's Intelligent Medicine podcast. Today with Leyla Mutin. That's why we call it Q&A with Leyla.